Good evening and welcome to the Schmidt House podcast. I'm your host, Zach. Tonight I am joined by Regina's very own Mikey Smith. Mikey is a flat earther that has, since about 2016, been trying to get the truth out about the shape of the earth, the firmament, and space and stars. So we will certainly have a very interesting conversation tonight. I expect the comment section to be fire, so I'll try to keep on top of that. But I'll bring him on in a second and we'll dive deep into flat earth. I am streaming tonight on Rumble, trying to get entropy set up. It's not responding, so I'll see if I can get that pulled up. GTV, Odyssey, and on YouTube. Now, if you are on YouTube, please get off that platform. Head on over to Rumble, place that supports free speech. You'll also notice that I'm not on streaming on Twitter anymore. Twitter is making you pay for to be able to stream there, so I won't be there at for the foreseeable future. Maybe at some point in time, I don't know, we'll figure that out. Subscribe to the Schmidt House Post on Substack for $5 a month or $50 for the year. I am taking the month of July off, so there's no new articles for this month, but I will be posting some new ones in August and getting back to doing some writing. But there is a good back catalog of things on there nonetheless. The t-shirt of the month giveaway. One second when I pull it up. So tonight is the last day to get entered in to win this t-shirt. If you want entered in to win the Schmidt House shirt, you can send a Rumble rant of $5 or more. Monthly supporters on Rumble will also get an automatic entry as well. I'll make the draw on the first stream in August, and I'll be probably reading those Rumble rants at the end of the stream. Maybe if there's a good one, I will read it throughout if there's a good question in one or two of them. Now, if this is your first time checking out the show, please subscribe, share the show with your friends, and I appreciate you taking the time to check it out. Now, welcome to the stream, Mikey Smith.
Thank you. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight, Mikey?
Doing better. I had a little bit of a stressful time a few hours ago, but I'm all good now.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're able to make it tonight. Do you want to give a quick little introduction on yourself for the listeners who might not know who you are?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I run a YouTube channel, Mikey Smith, Horizontally Opposed, and I've been doing that for 8 or 9 years or so. About 8 years. I came into flat Earth probably back then when it was presented to me on my YouTube list, and of course came through some of the videos and experiments that people were doing, and I basically thought it was funny at first, but I am open to listening to people's opinions and suggestions on things, and so I looked into it and could not disprove that it was flat or that it was even a globe. I couldn't prove to myself that it was a globe. So that's where I'm at right now, and doing tons of experiments in between now and then, and hopefully we'll be able to get to talk about them and show some people some evidence of where we live.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited. I don't know truly where I sit. I think I've watched a lot of videos and trying to kind of dissect it all as well. Don't know which camp I truly sit in, but I think that it's worth having a conversation and looking into, because
Sure.
if the more that you just try to shun and exclude that type of information, you're just shutting yourself off from a lot of learning. So that's really what I'm interested in. I'm interested in learning new things and talking to interesting people. So okay, so let's get into it. Let's kind of start at the start. So 2016, you stumble across, I'm assuming that maybe a YouTube video or something like that, and you kind of go down this rabbit hole. What were some of the things that first got you turned on to flat Earth and kind of converted you from thinking that the Earth was a globe into thinking the Earth is flat?
Yeah, that would have been probably Jeranism's stuff. I kind of bumped into his channel a few times, and I was watching his experiments with a laser shot across a lake. I can't remember how far it was. I think it was only 8 or 10 miles or something. And I was even thinking back then, I was like, yeah, but it's only 10 miles. What's the big deal? Like you should be able to see something for 10 miles, shouldn't you? And then so I just went with that for a week or two and watching other videos, and And but of course, I didn't know the curve calculator or the measurements back then. And of course, none of us know because we weren't taught them in school. We weren't taught to go measure the curve or go see if we can even see the curve. So yeah, I just thought it was funny at first, and then I started doing my own. You got to do your own research, your own investigations, rather than taking the words flat earth and then just laughing because you think it's funny. Well, I think the globe is funny because it's a cartoon. I was done with cartoons when I was probably 8 or 10 years old. I just moved on and started doing the research, and here I am. It's yeah, if you just look into it, that's all you have to do. And
Mhm.
then you won't be able to sleep for weeks because you'll be like, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the curve calculator, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's 8 inches per mile
Yeah,
is what
square,
it so per
square.
okay.
Yeah,
So basically what you're saying the experiment is over a long enough stretch of flatness,
yeah,
you should see it curve.
yes.
Um is the argument, and through experiments people have said that it's not. Have you talked to because I've talked to people that have been in the military, like sharpshooters and stuff like that, and they
Mhm,
said that they take the Coriolis effect
mhm.
into calculating their shots and stuff like that. Another big one is like pilots, and saying that they have to calculate their routes based on it. Have you talked to anybody like kind of in those camps, and had them kind of speak upon this?
Yes, yes and no. The first part, the Coriolis effect, again, everybody uses those words. I've never seen anybody use it because you would use it in baseball, you would use it in football, you would use it in anything that when you play ultimate sports like frisbee. You would use that into account too for anything you do, but nobody does that. We say there's a curve, we say there's a Coriolis effect, but nobody ever sees it, with their own two eyes. And if they say they bring it into their calculations, well, I'm not sure. When there's somebody attacking your country, you don't bring out your calculator and figure out the different degrees of angle that you got to shoot off to the angle to get your target. Nobody does that. They just aim and shoot, you know. And then going on to the pilots, there are actually lots of pilots. Again, you have to do the research and look for things. There are many, many pilots stating that it is pretty flat out there, and they do fly over a plane, and they do not see curvature even in an airplane. And that's
Hmm.
only 6 or 7 miles up. But we have sent a balloon to 20, I think 21 or 22 miles, and that's like 120,000 feet, and still no curve. The horizon always comes to your eye level, no matter how high you are. And even if you were on a globe, you should go up on top of your house and see the curve. It doesn't matter because you have to see it going that way. You have to see the curve going that way, and that way, because people think they live on a sphere, not round, sphere. They have to get the terminology correct because a tire is round, a pizza's round. There are a lot of round things out there. A table,
Right.
it doesn't mean that it's a sphere. You know.
Well, I mean, in us living in Saskatchewan, it's pretty easy,
Mhm.
especially in the area that we are, which is like the flattest part of the province, to
Yes.
kind of see. I've been up at some heights before too, and yeah, like you are kind of expecting to see it because you've been shown so many pictures
Yes.
and stuff throughout lots of time, where it's like you should just expect that there would be some type of curvature to it, depending on how high up you are.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see that point of view on
Mhm.
it. The other kind of pushback, devil's advocate kind of point to that though is the fact that the earth is so big that
Mhm.
you're always only going to ever see a tangent line to it. You're never actually going to see the curvature. But again, that goes to say it's like depending on how high up you are, you should start to see
Mhm.
that based on the measurements and the calculations that were given.
Exactly. And so there's a few parts to that. So um, it being so big, supposedly, nobody knows the numbers. I know the globe better than people who think they live on a globe. It wouldn't matter if it was 500,000 miles in diameter, there would still be a curvature at some point. Um, Saskatchewan is 100% flat. Everybody's been saying that for hundreds of years. We see it flat. In between Regina and Moose Jaw, that's, what is it, almost 70 kilometers. There should be like 1,500 feet of curvature. There should be. Okay, now, but if you're looking left, right, as you go travel west, you're looking south and north. And again, you're still not seeing any curvature from anywhere, because people say they see it when they're on the beach. They say, oh, I see the curve, because the boat is supposedly going over the curve. That's why we can't see the big ship, the tanker ship come and go anymore. That's only due to perspective. But again, coming back to Saskatchewan, I'm here in Assiniboia. If I go 12 miles south further than where I am, which is still straight line is about 73, 75 miles, I could go 12 miles further south, go up on a little hill, and see the lights from Regina. That's 4,000 feet of missing curvature. Again, if you think you live on a globe, show me the evidence, because I haven't seen any yet. And we'll get into NASA and space and all that stuff later. But show me something. Everybody just kind of blah, 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 you know, but they don't actually go out and measure the curvature. Nobody has ever measured the curvature. Nobody has measured the curvature. Nobody.
So I get like, because I first came across you, you were, I think it was Canada Day, and Just Ben's had put you up, and you know, you're out there trying to talk to people about this and getting lots of pushback, and people are, you know, calling you crazy things and all of this other stuff. How does that kind of make you feel when you're you know, so you're doing the experiments, you've studied this a lot, and you know, your average everyday person just isn't understanding you know, kind of this whole argument or maybe even why you would think this. What's your kind of like, how do you feel when that's going on, and what's your kind of pushback towards the, you know, the name calling and all that stuff when you're just trying to explore ideas?
That's a very good question. I like that. So at the beginning, I had a lot of anger towards people. I've been told that from many of my friends and people that I know, even in the truth community. Mike, you're getting too mad. And because I am mad, because I'm mad at the government. Over time, I've started to learn to calm down, because I'm actually doing my own experiments, my own recordings of everything from the horizon, long distances, recording the stars, recording the sun, the moon, whatever I'm recording, and doing the experiments with lasers on Highway 33 southeast of Regina, doing those experiments and saying, okay, I've got the confidence now. I am right and you're wrong, because you're not looking into it. You're just taking the person, judging that person for not even doing your own experiments or even looking into something. You know, I find it very sad now, because there are people that are really asleep in relation to what's actually going on in the world, because there are crazy things going on in the world, and yet nobody seems to care or want to care, or is just blind that things are perfectly fine, I guess, in today's world, according to a lot of people. But yeah.
Right. So what are some like very entry level theories or perspectives from like the flat earther side point of view that
Mhm.
someone just kind of wetting their feet on this topic would
Oh,
be
sure.
hearing?
Yeah. Okay. So first thing, flat earthers do not deal with theories, because it is not a theory that we use water as a leveling tool in construction. For every highway, tunnel, railroad track, every construction site that's any more than a mile long, we use the spirit level behind me. It doesn't contain water, but it's alcohol or some other substances. So when you have a liquid that remains level when at rest, it's more accurate than a laser, because within a laser light, it gets wider as it gets further away. So if you're measuring something like this, it's just going to get wider, and your measurements are going to be off by the time you get 10 miles down the road with a laser. So we use that in construction. See, actual physical things, devices, a plumb bob, which is a weight hung from a string that shows you what's straight up and down. So the weight here is center or straight up and down from your point up here. And when you go and you build buildings like the Twin Towers downtown in Regina, those are straight up and down, vertical, straight up and down. And then you go to Calgary, 700 and some kilometers away, those buildings are straight up and down. And you can go to the top of those buildings and measure from the one rooftop to the ones in Calgary, and they will be totally plumb or straight up and down with each other, 700 kilometers away. They've actually measured, there was a French documentary they did years ago, and they measured 3,000 kilometers away, and the buildings were exactly straight up and down. On a curved surface, you should have buildings like at angles, because you're lived on a curved surface. You know, it's like if you took these like this on top of my head, because my head is curved, they should look like this, not straight up and down, because everything's built on a level and straight up and down. Everything, even if you build a house on a mountain, you don't build a house like this. You build it straight up and down.
So wouldn't, because I'm just trying to understand, because if you would have something plumb, you would have it associated with gravity, and gravity would be pulling towards the center of like the core of the earth, is what the globe model would prove, correct?
Yeah, that's what they would say. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, because it's on a flat plane, everything would still be able to maintain that, even though it's not around a center point, and we're not dealing with tangents. Am I getting that correct?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So again, if you're measuring something at an angle, if people, again, you have to think, these are all theories that globies come up with. The theory of gravity, there is no gravity. You need gravity to live on a ball. That is why people think there is gravity. The reason why things fall to the ground is because there's mass, there's density, there's weight to it, you know, because you can go to a pool, you can drop a soccer ball, basketball, balloon, and it will drop. But people will say, well, that's gravity pulling it down to the pool. Yeah, but what happens when it hits the pool? When it hits the water, it will float. So why doesn't gravity pull it down to the bottom of the pool? Well, now that basketball, which was more dense than the air, is now less buoyant than the water. So now it's going to float. If it was more dense like a rock, sure, it would go to the bottom of the pool. But it's not gravity. It's just density and buoyancy or mass, whatever it is. It's like when people say, well, where's the center of gravity in your car? I don't know. I don't know what gravity is. The center of mass, center of weight, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I get, so okay. So we kind of got that aspect. Is there any other evidence that flat earthers would say for someone that is new coming in and just checking it out? For, is there kind of some other main theories for new people to understand?
Yeah, your two eyes that you see with. You see horizons, not curvisons. The horizon is exactly that, horizontal. That's why we call it the horizon, not curvizon. It's easy. You just look at what, you just think about what you're looking at, you know, like airplane. It doesn't fly. Air flies in the air over a plane. We don't call it an air curve or an air sphere.
Right.
Just logical things. Easy. This is grade 4 stuff. Like, seriously.
So obviously at one point in time it was mainstream that the earth was flat, and that was the general consensus, and that the sun revolved around us, you know, way back in history.
Yeah.
through the Renaissance and some science leading up to that, they came up with the globe, and that we revolved around the sun, and there are other planets did too. And now we're kind of seeing a resurgence in the flat Earth point of view. Where does it come from the modern perspective, as far as this resurgent, or even being able to bring in different ideas to be able to have that explanation of flat Earth?
Yeah, and it wasn't as far back as people think it is. The flat Earth has been around even as early as probably even the 20s or 30s. There are people that have been interviewed, older folks in their 90s, and if they're lucky enough to live over there till they're 100 and some, but those people were even taught in school that the Earth was flat. It's just recent in the 40s or 50s that people were starting to get brainwashed because they planted the globe into the classroom, and which again it is just a model. It is an art piece. It's not for educational purposes. But yeah, you can go back as early 1900s and still find flat Earth stuff out there. It's only because of the recent governments we've put into place, whether we want them or not to be there, like NASA. They do not, their money for each day, we're not talking years or months, we're talking about a day. They get upwards of $70 million a day in order to fake whatever they are doing.
Yeah, I think that is one argument that I've heard an awful lot, and it's certainly, like, I've been against believing that Americans landed on the moon. I think that there's a lot of secrets that have gone on through many governments, and probably even worse in the last, I would say, since 2001. Lots of shady shit.
Yeah.
But NASA is definitely one that has my head turning a little bit, because if you see lots of the imagery that comes out of it, there's repeat cloud patterns.
Yeah.
All of the images don't look the same, and even ones from different space agencies look different. If we're staring at the same image, you'd think that we would have some similarities, but the continents appear different sizes on lots of the imagery. It's like if we were being able to take a picture from the moon and actually look at Earth, we should see like, in theory, see the same thing each time. But in my opinion, we don't. And there's lots of pictures where it's like, you'll see Saudi Arabia takes up half the size of the Earth, and it just that doesn't make any sense. But these are official pictures from space and put forward from NASA, right? So it's like those types of things really put huge seeds of doubt, to where it's like, what you're telling me seems more plausible, just because I don't trust the government. There's been lies and manipulation from every which way throughout history. And so it's like, how are we supposed to just take this seriously? And then you do look at at their budget, and it's like, if you think about what visual effects are in movies these days, what technology what actually predates this, that the general public didn't have access to, that a space agency would be able to do some crazy stuff with, right? So, well, I think that's probably a really good time, is like, let's kind of dive into NASA and maybe space a little bit here. What's kind of the big argument against NASA and what they're doing, and faking everything? Let's start with the budget and kind of work from there.
Oh, that's 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 funny to me. The whole NASA thing is just hilarious. People need to look up on YouTube NASA's live streams. They are filming in a pool. Okay, they have harnesses connected to them, and the whole entire pool is a green screen. Okay, so when they are working on the so-called ISS, International Space Station, they are filming, that background is a green screen. It's not the actual globe or the planet behind them, because again, you can find no planes or satellites in those background videos. So and anything that we get from NASA is either CGI or edited somewhere or somehow on a computer program. I do have many examples here, which are just I thought we lived on a globe too, guys. Like seriously, but there's no proof of it. Not one single percent of proof that we live on a globe. I am actually communicating with some of the lawyers in town, and I'm trying to actually sue the Canadian Space Agency for fraud. And it's laughable to me. I don't even need a lawyer. I'll represent myself because we've already won twice in court, flat earthers. We have taken globies to court and won thousands of dollars. The judge states that we have the proof, and globies do not have the proof. We have won twice, and I'll be the third, hopefully.
So you're talking about a lawsuit. Who are you suing, and for what damages?
For the damages throughout my entire life, being told all of the lies and all of the taxes that we pay towards these industries that supposedly what's Canadian Space Agency's budget is. It's not even close to NASA's, but it's like $500 or $600 million a year, which I'm not sure what they do with that money. It's not going to space, I can tell you that much. But something, whether I sue them or not, I just want them to know I'm putting pressure on them to say, look, I know what's going on. And I'm not the only one. There's thousands of flat earthers here in Saskatchewan. You're not advertising. I do the advertising and I find out because people give me the thumbs up. Yes, I support you 100%. I was driving right by the airport a couple months ago, and there was a guy running down the sidewalk. He just got off the plane from Ontario, and he's running after my car just to shake my hand because he's a flat earther too. There are thousands of us, millions, because we're seeing the fakery. We're seeing it. We're just like, no, we don't need that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's nonsense.
Are you maybe a bit of afraid that there could be a huge confirmation bias in lots of the information that you're seeking out to try to affirm?
No. The people call the flat Earth a theory. The flat Earth is a fact. I don't believe it's flat. I know it's flat because I have my eyes and they work perfectly fine. It's not a globe. Show me that it's a globe, other than a cartoon or a picture from a catalog or from a movie. It's.
There's another. Just going back to NASA for a second here. There's Werner von Braun, who was a German rocket scientist.
Yeah.
He later joined NASA after the Second World War. He was called the father of modern rocket science, and on his headstone says Psalm 19-1, and which reads, I'll quote it: "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork." Which, truthfully, I think is a very odd thing to put on a person like that, like a space explorer, and his headstone is talking about the firmament. So again, like there's these little things that put little seeds of doubt that are just weird. It could be a very elaborate troll. It could be a joke, or I don't know. But can you kind of go into the firmament and how it plays into the flat Earth theory?
Yes. Again, I'll correct you. It's not a theory. But yeah, if you want to see what actual stars look like, this is the star Sirius. You look up the star Sirius on Google, they will show you a bright white light. It is computer generated. This is the actual star Sirius. I actually have two copies of it 2 different times of the year. This was April of last year. So there's something above the star that the star is connected to, and that would be the firmament. And I will show you how I captured these pictures. So this is in November of last year. That is 100% the star Sirius. That is, so these are frequencies. I call these frequencies, and they go like, hard doing this one. They go in and out like a.
So that is that the reflection I'm just trying to piece this together in my mind. So the firmament, you got the dome. Is those frequencies, are they reflection from the outside or the inside of the dome?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to figure. What I'm trying to figure out actually, because as you can tell on this one here in April, the frequency isn't activated or something working on the top here, and yet it is on this one for some reason. This is exactly the same star, and I'll show you how I can prove that it's a dome. So let me get these right here. So this is in the eastern sky. You see what kind of angle they're at? This one is in the western sky. Why do you think they're at angles? Because there's a dome. So if I waited for the star to be in the center part of the sky, it should be straight up and down, would it not? And as it goes through the sky, it keeps rotating, right? So that's why it's at this angle, and the other one is at this angle, because there's a curved dome above us. And it's amazing. This is like I here speaking. So I went to the observatory a couple hours southwest of here near Cypress Hills, and I went there about a year ago. And this big hotshot he's a young guy in his 30s. He showed up at the observatory, and he was explaining technical terms on how the big telescope works and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, let's point it. He pointed it to the east at some star. I looked through the little eyepiece there, and I'm just like, what? Something was mixed up. And I said to myself, what is this? What's going on here? It's not right, because I use binoculars. This guy's got a telescope like this size. The star should be like right here in front of my face through that thing. And it seemed like it was pushed further away from me than my binoculars, because I can see stars good through my binoculars. And so I showed him my video, which I captured. This was the video, probably this one that I got this picture from. This is a screenshot from the video. I showed him that video, and after that video, he was so uncomfortable. The two people that were in the observatory had to leave immediately, they said, after I showed them my video. So they were not comfortable with what I showed them. And I don't get telescopes. I don't understand them. You should be able to. And the nebulas, the fancy watercolors you see in all the pictures. Oh, it's just funny. You got to open up your minds, guys. I'm serious. Go look at a science book or an astrology book. The nebulas and the fancy watercolors, it's computers, man. Come on. They're producing these crazy images, and I'm just like, what are they looking at? They don't even look like real stars. They look like little light pricks in the paper. And I'm like, if you're zoomed in so close to these nebulas, like you should be seeing stars that look like this. But again, they're all just blurry and out of focus. And then they've got these fancy watercolors showing, like, I don't know what they're trying to show us, but it's
So, okay, so with all that said, so I was walking my dog last night, and clear as day, I could see the auroras that were when I was facing north.
Yeah, the northern lights.
Yeah. So, like, what type of interaction with space is that?
That is not coming from space. It's an interaction with the Earth and the sky. Just give me a second here. Okay. I had a drawing before, but okay. So people think it looks like this. I'm going to draw a quick diagram. And they're actually doing this. So everybody thinks the things are coming down from the sky, okay, from the sun, from space, whatever. They're not going down. It's like a heart wave. They're going across like that. They're it's like a heart monitor going like this through the sky, and they're only just a few thousand feet above our heads. They're not coming from distant space. They're literally above our heads, right where the clouds are. Everything's there. The clouds, the northern lights, and whatever else is there. But yeah, they're not coming from space. There's some kind of interaction with magnetic north and the energy that's in the sky. I don't know how to explain them, but that would be the best way. But they're not coming down like this. They're going across like this.
Okay.
Yeah, they resonate from center, like the center of the pizza. So they go out from there.
Right. So another thing that I've heard is that like the moon and the sun are the same size. They're inside the firmament, and then they rotate on the axis. Essentially, I think they kind of move up and down between along the equator, bouncing in between the tropics.
Yes, exactly.
And that gives us our daylight. But one of the things that I was when I was researching this a little bit, just let me check my notes here, was that there's irregular patterns between the daylight and based on what is recorded. So it's like the amount of sunlight that, say, Australia gets or Canada gets or whatever. It's different from what the models from the flat earth is based on where it's situated in its revolution around the true north. How does that kind of play into everything?
Yeah, they're just
Daylight.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because they're saying it's coming from a different direction or something like that, and they're not understanding the size of the Earth, whether it's flat, round, whatever. The sun, you've heard of the sunsets being so quick in Australia and the Dominican, Chile. Sunsets are really fast in the winter. And the reason why is because the sun speeds up. It's not going small diameter like it is now here in Canada, nice and because our sunsets last forever, because the sun has slowed down. When it goes further south, it gains speed because it's going on a wider track. It's like when you run in track and field. The 6-lane guy starts way up ahead because he's running a bigger diameter. If he started right where you started, you would win the race probably walking, because he's got to go double the length. So he's got to run double the speed that you are if he started right beside you in the 6th lane, way back. That's why they start, they like a stepping ladder, and so the sun speeds up. I don't know. It could be going, what does it go now? Probably 1,000 miles an hour. Everything is opposite. Whatever they tell you that the Earth is doing, the sun and the sky are doing that. Not the Earth, but the sky is. The sun, the moon, the wandering stars, the planets are rotating around us, and you can see that with your own 2 eyes. I don't have to get you to try to believe me or think it's a theory or a suggestion. No, you see that with your own 2 eyes. You see the sun set in the northwest and rise in the northeast every single day. And yet the sun, here's a good one for you guys. For those of you who live in Chile, upside down on a ball, why is the sun above their head at high noon and the sun above our head at high noon when we're on top of the ball or near the top? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I've heard some other things too, is that the North Star, which is the North Star Sirius, is that the same? Okay. Is
Polaris,
that
Polaris.
Polaris? Okay. Is that you can see Polaris from the South Pole or from the southern hemisphere, which you shouldn't be able to do if it wasn't flat. That's one argument that I've heard.
Yeah, they're misunderstanding how perspective works. So if you want to walk or drive, I guess, to Moose Jaw, go west of the city, you're going to lose those downtown buildings, the Twin Towers or SGI with gold metal plating on it. You're going to lose those buildings at a certain point. It's not due to the curve. It's due to you going further away, because my hand is big right now, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
You pull it away, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. If my arm was 50 feet longer, you would not see my hand anymore. That doesn't mean there's a curve in my apartment. It just means I got a big apartment. It's due to perspective. It's like the telephone poles on the side of the highway. they look like they're this big in the distance, but they're not that big. They're the same height as the ones beside you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever they are, 80 feet tall, 60 feet tall, same poles.
Right. Yeah, like I understand that concept. It was just one of the things that I was reading is that you can see Polaris from the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't work.
So,
Uh,
okay, there's
and again,
another.
it wouldn't work either way. But I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to. I'm trying to find Polaris here. I got a picture of Polaris too. That's not it. Yeah, and I'm the only one, at least honestly, telling you what Polaris does. So we all know that Polaris never moves. Neither do any of the other constellations, which they should move every night. But people say, well, Polaris is stationary. Yes, it is very stationary, but it rotates with the firmament like this. So if it was in the middle of the firmament, it would rotate like this. And I can vouch for that because some nights it's over here and some nights it's angling like this. So I'm assuming it's rotating, and I'm just recording it when it's over here because it's very, very slow. Whatever is in the center of the firmament or the center of the dome is rotating very slowly. The stars on the southern sky, they go fast. Like I got to keep adjusting my binoculars. I got to keep going I got to adjust them every 20 or 30 seconds in order to keep up with the star as it's moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've seen is from the flat Earth perspective is the flight patterns.
Yes.
And this is the justification for it is like the certain directions and the certain paths that flights take going from specifically like harder points like Johannesburg, South Africa, places in Australia, places in South America, just because they're a little bit more remote in comparison to like what would be both like the more populated up northern hemisphere and
Yeah.
on the flat Earth, the center of
Sure.
the globe of the map, right? So is that what they're saying is that because if you lay out the flight patterns on a flat Earth map, then it starts to make sense because they're going straight along those lines. But then you see on the globe, they'll go north to Dubai and then to
Yeah.
Jayberg down this way and make a triangle. But when you stretch the
Exactly.
map out, it goes straight. But I've also heard kind of like other ways to debunk that is saying that it's like, well, you got to pick up different passengers, the fuel, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But
Mhm.
how from the stuff that you've researched and looked at, how do the flight patterns prove a flat Earth?
Straightest line is the shortest distance. We here in Saskatchewan do not drive to Moose Jaw, then Saskatoon. If we're going to Saskatoon, that's a waste of gas. We want to go as straight as possible. So we go directly to Saskatoon, especially nowadays for gas being so expensive. So when you look, you can look up, you can follow these flights on Flight Radar 24. Actually, it's an app. It's pretty cool. They even give you a 3D view and you can actually follow the plane as it's flying. And you can follow everything. They'll tell you everything about the flight path. And again, you've seen, for those of you who have flown, they always show you the map of how it's flying. They always give you that arc of how it's going, like to the other continents. It goes up over to north and then it comes back down. But I'm like, what kind of flight path is? What kind of flight path is that? Why don't you go from New York to the next continent, to Europe? And so why are you going like, why are you making like double the trip, double the length? That would be so crazy. It's just flight paths, and you can see them. Another thing is the chemtrails, the long trails, the chemical ones in the sky. They're not curving. They're going from horizon to horizon. That's hundreds or a couple thousand miles that they've traveled, and yet you don't see the plane doing this. It's not. It's flying. It's what it does. It flies straight and level is an actual term in their training manual. Flight straight and level.
Mm-hmm.
You want to fly crooked in some other way, you know.
I had another thought going back to when you're talking about sunsets. When I
Mm-hmm.
was in Hawaii, The very first thing I noticed is how instantly bright it is to instantly dark
Yeah,
because of the sunlight. So
yeah,
assuming you're on a globe, the sun's going around, and the second it crosses the horizon line, then it's gone. You can no longer see it. The light's pretty much gone. It
yeah.
got like that was one huge actually kind of shock being in Hawaii. Is just like you get
Mhm.
it's super bright all day, and then it's just like there's no sunset. It's just there
Yeah.
and then gone basically. Um, so how would that, because you can actually see it, right, go around the curve.
Mhm.
How does that disprove, or how does that affect the flat earth theory, is where you can actually basically see it go on the other side and then it disappears?
Well, I like how you said that at first because you said the earth is, I mean, the sun is, when the sun is setting or when the sun is moving. I know the sun's moving, so is the moon. We are not. The like, and I described earlier how it sets fast because the further south it goes, it speeds up.
But what I'm saying is when it crosses the horizon line, you can no longer see it.
Yeah.
How does that, like, if you're looking up where the
Hmm.
sun's supposed to be, it should
Yeah.
just continue on,
And we should,
right?
yeah,
Like you should get outside of maybe its ability to shine, assuming like let's say that it's like
yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
right. So you have a circle
Yeah.
and then it's going to cast a beam of light, right? And as
Yeah.
soon as you get out of that, that creates darkness. But what I'm saying is what you can see is it goes, on the other side, and then you no longer able to see the sun.
Okay. Here, watch. Is it not getting smaller? Okay. And
Yeah.
if I keep bringing this back, what's going to happen eventually? I haven't gone over a curve yet. If I go another 50 feet, you're not going to see it. Correct? Because this is continuing too. This flat paper.
Hmm.
It's not moving. It's not going down because at noon the sun should go down, but it doesn't. It goes to the southwest and then ends up. To the west and then the northwest, and then it comes around to the northeast. These are things you see with your own two eyes. It's coming from around to the northeast. But I thought we were rotating around the sun. No, you are seeing the sun move, not us. Because last time I checked, when there was an earthquake, that's when the earth moved. What are we doing right now? We are stationary, right? Because there's no earthquake.
Right. And another argument that I've heard is that, like if a helicopter, which has the ability to stay stationary in the air, um,
Mhm.
was to just float there, like you should see I'll go up a bit.
Yeah,
You should see the Earth move underneath it,
exactly.
right? But the helicopter kind of moves with it. Can you maybe explain that if you know about what's going on there?
Yeah, people are assuming that the atmosphere and everything is all moving at the same time. I don't know what the heck that even means because it's probably very quiet outside, no wind, uh, birds chirping, but yet we're supposed to be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And again, if there's something spinning underneath of something, why would we have to move to we obviously have to move to catch up to it, but you don't. You just hover and there's nothing moving.
Hmm.
If I was suspended by a crane on top of the merry-go-round, well, the merry-go-round's moving, not me. I'm the helicopter being suspended by a crane, but yet you've got a merry-go-round spinning below me.
So if you're a plane taking off going east,
Mm-hmm.
you should essentially just be able to pop up, hover there, like wait there, and then have the Earth catch up, and then you just go down and land. And then on
Yeah.
the reverse, you'd be able to basically get double time going
Mhm.
west,
Yeah.
but your flight times aren't really affected in
Different. Yeah.
such way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The Earth is supposed to be spinning east. So if at 1,000 miles an hour, so if you flew in a plane at only 500 miles an hour, how would you get to your destination? How would you get to Toronto if you flew from Regina? Like, I don't need to explain that. You guys need to explain it to me. How you get there if you're not going as fast as the Earth is, because you would never catch up with Toronto. because it's moving away from you at 1,000 miles an hour. You're only going 500.
So wouldn't it's the same, well, because like if you're sitting in a vehicle, you are also going the same speed as the vehicle. So
Yes.
would it not be the same thing with the planet? Is
Mhm.
that since we are all on the planet within the atmosphere in a contained system, we're going the same speed and we're not affected by the speed of which the Earth turns? Like, is that not a rebuttal to that?
Um, I don't think so. I don't know how that would work because, again, you're saying the Earth is spinning, not me. So I'm never like it makes sense if the Earth is stationary because I can just fly to there, land, everything's good, and nothing's moving away from the plane as you're landing. When you go to Toronto, the Toronto airport there is the runway is right there. He lines up with it for probably 10 or 15 minutes and lands on it. It's not moving this way or that way or further away or coming towards them really quickly.
But what I'm saying is that if you're to drive on a car, right? So pretend this
Yeah,
is a car and you're standing on top
yeah,
and you're driving and you jump,
yeah.
you will land on the same spot less your air friction
Hmm.
from the time that you were basically in the air to the minute that you touch down. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is like would that not be within the contained system of the globe? You're moving with it, so those forces of physics aren't affecting you, like the planes and all that in the same
Hmm.
way. Is basically what I'm getting at,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, essentially, the car is moving with you because you jumped. But again, you keep mentioning that the Earth is spinning. I'm looking for how that works because I'm moving again. I understand what you're saying, but I'm moving with the car. I jump, okay, but what? That's two different things. The Make the car stop because the Earth is not moving. It's not moving. That's how they land. There are runways that go north and south, and if the Earth is moving to the east, the plane is not. It's not going adjusting for the plane for the runway. It's not adjusting for it. And these are pilots that are saying this too. Not just
Mhm.
me. These are pilots.
Yeah, like I can see the logic of how you're getting to that conclusion. Just the big thing is in my mind, and this you could probably say this is because this is what we were taught,
Hmm.
um, and that we're always affirming our own science. Is that's the rationale behind of where I can't really connect the dots in that
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
right?
And some of them are hard. Like some of these questions, I can't answer because I'm not there on that system, so I don't know how that would even work. It's your example that you're spinning, but you and I are sitting perfectly fine at our chairs doing this live stream or podcast.
Right. No, I understand. I know I understand what you're saying there. The one actually big question that I had is, and because I've had this conversation with a friend of mine, and he brought up a really good point. So I'll do what his question was, and I'll kind of say my response, and I'm really interested to hear your take on it. So
Yeah.
much like with anything that would be called, say, a conspiracy theory, there's people behind it with some type of motive. And with anything, most of the time, it's financial, right? Or I think maybe in this case, since it's so existential, it could maybe be like some type of spiritual thing as well.
Yeah.
But so, assuming that there are people. Assuming that there are people behind the flat Earth and trying to cover it up and making the globe Earth the mainstream ideology that's held, what would be their motivation for doing so? And why are they what are they kind of doing this for as far as like their direct benefit? So my response to that was I said like there's people that are probably doing things on such a grand scale that they don't even care. Like it's so far beyond what they want your average everyday person to actually be able to know.
Hmm.
Maybe there's something behind Antarctica. The globe or the world is that much more, is that much bigger than everybody can conceive. So they're on that other side. It'd be basically like humans looking at an anthill. Why do we care about what the ants think about what's outside of their contained environment. They're so on some whole other level, right? So
Mhm.
that was kind of my answer to like what the motivation behind someone wanting to have this level of deception. So to pose this question to you, what's the motivation for people that are pushing the globe theory and have been being able to manipulate and control society in that way? What's their purpose in doing that?
The one thing is control. Part of it could be they don't want you to know where you came from and that you are special, because a lot of religions are going down the tube, whatever their religion is. The whole past 3 or 4 years there, everybody wore a diaper on their face. I was not one of them because I know my rights. But major control. It starts right from education, or I call it indoctrination, because nothing we learned in school was of use of me right now. I do not know how to balance a checkbook, house mortgages, anything that has any value to me right now. I did not learn in school, along with not measuring the curvature. But yeah, again, control. Well, I don't want to go to war, but the governments sure like pounding the crap out of people. So they like falsifying these wars against whatever story it is they want. Yeah, control. God. They don't want you to know that God is actually real. Because I'm coming to the point where I don't believe in God. I know there's a God because of what I'm doing. I'm searching and searching for the truth. And from the stuff that I've recorded is amazing. I don't know what the stars are, but I know what they look like. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and I think that that's there's no huge, well, maybe there is, but a huge monetary side to this, say, conspiracy theory in comparison to
Mhm.
lots of others, right? Like you look at COVID, there's a direct monetization behind what they did and why they did things
Mhm.
that they benefited from. So like that's a little bit easier to explain.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's might be like a spiritual thing. Yeah, like you said, that they don't want everybody knowing their relationship with God, and if this is a
Yeah.
way that could prove it, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and there's a couple questions from the chat, but I wanted to go this direction first, just to kind of pick your brain on this.
Yeah.
I'm a huge I'm a huge supporter of the simulation theory. I think statistically, it's one of the more probable explanations to our us being here.
Mhm.
And I think that it doesn't, like, you could use it in a certain way to also prove evidence of God. You could justify things such as flat Earth because it would be able to exist within the simulation. Tons of other things as well. So do you think that there's the do you put any weight in the simulation theory, and do you think that it could also help prove the flat Earth as well?
That's a good question. I don't know. I really haven't looked into it that much because I I basically have an idea in my head that this is obviously created. Whether this is reality or not, I have no idea.
Hmm.
Because our brains have major capacity of accomplishing anything really. Our brains do not feel pain. So, and I'm really starting to get into whether it's real or not of other people who have died and come back, so the stories that they say, um, and not just the stories, like I can believe anything I want, but it's what I can take from what I've been told and put it into what I have done myself. These, it's not even just the stars. It's just taking a minute to slow down in life and stop worrying about your iPhone and how pretty you look when you go outside. Why don't you put your phone in your bedroom and go outside and enjoy life for a while and see what happens? Go out in nature and see what you find. This life is absolutely amazing, and it's not a belief. Since I've come into flat earth, I have gained the respect for more people than I have ever had, because I view people as spiritual beings, as special beings. um, I see more than the average person does, and I respect more and more people as go on in life. I love helping people. That's why I was so stressed out earlier. I was helping like 4 people at the same time. I didn't know where that was coming or going, but I feel good after that, because people need help, and that's the way we should be all treating each other, instead of driving by the guy in the drive-through who is starving. Literally, he hasn't eaten in days, and you're just going to Tim Hortons because you're excited about going to Tim Hortons. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to give him money. Buy him a donut. Give him something to eat. Nobody should be starving. Nobody. Like, we would gain more from just understanding where we live.
Yeah, 100%. I think that that's something that's often overlooked within society is our relationship with people, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a Rumble rant from Tenacious V here, and he says, honest question. I used to work on the railroad in Saskatchewan, so I know this for certain. East from Regina to McLean is ascending mountain grade greater than 1.8%.
Yeah, that's it.
How will this affect your test? West from Regina is again steep up to Belle Plaine, then down steep to Moose Jaw, a long uphill grade to Swift Current. Sask is not flat, I assure you. So how does this work into your calculations? Just the different grades of elevation.
Give me a good percent and we'll talk about it. We're talking more than 1%. Are you kidding me? I can see downtown Regina from Moose Jaw. Explain why there's no curve. That's my answer. Show me the curve.
Well, and I think that that's where it gets a little bit murky because there is change in elevation.
Mm-hmm.
I think like when I've kind of done like these thought experiments in my head to try to look at it, because um one of the big things that I saw that put a lot of doubt in my mind is like you could have buildings across like a river, right? And you'd be able to see the tops of those buildings when basically you should see enough of a like the curve that
Mm-hmm.
you should see a
Yeah,
drop and there
yeah.
isn't.
Oh,
Was
sure.
basically the way that from my understanding from the video, which works like essentially if you have a laser that would be X amount of height above a measurable sea level, like it would have to have the same base start,
Oh, that's good.
going across to another point, way down the line. Again, that would be measured the same height, or like maybe a target, I guess would be not another
Yeah.
laser, but you'd have a target, right? That would be the exact same height above sea level. You'd have to have that to be able to get rid of that elevation,
Yeah.
just to be able to properly measure the curve. Is basically the way that my head was trying to process it,
Mm-hmm.
because that is one thing too, is like you're gonna get, say, like there's someone in the chat talking about being able to see Regina from Calgary. It's like, yes, I understand, like there are two different elevations, there's other stuff in the way too, like you can't, it's not a direct clear sight. Whereas if you had a lake, or maybe like the ocean, if it froze and had, was perfectly zero at sea level and had enough of a clear distance that you could do an experiment like that, that'd be basically your best chance of being able to prove something like that, as far as being able to measure the curve.
Yeah, and so again, I've done the experiments. I went on, like I mentioned earlier, Highway 33 south of Regina. Uh, for those of you who do not do research, Highway 33, southeast of Regina, 140 some kilometers, is the straightest, longest, flattest highway in North America. 140 kilometers. I'm done. Okay. You do the math on the Earth's curvature chart and tell me how much curvature there needs to be. There needs to be on that highway. Remembering Earth is flat. I mean, Saskatchewan's flat.
So what experiment did you do to be able to come to this conclusion?
I used my 7-watt laser. I went 22 miles down the road, down the railroad track. This is my 7-watt laser. It burns wood. It goes a lot further than 22 miles. I will be doing a further experiment, hopefully breaking the record. The record right now is 86 kilometers with a laser over water, of course, because water is unmanipulable. And that's why we call it, again, you use the term, not me, sea level. If you think you live on a ball, you have to call it sea curve, because the sea has to curve at some point, which it does not. Because between Los Angeles and Hawaii, the ocean is not bending. It is flat and level when at rest. I'll say that again, when at rest.
So I'm just gonna go back to the argument I've kind of been presenting before, is that it would just be viewed as a tangent line, right? Like the curve still exists, but all that we're able to see is the tangent. And like I'm really bad with distances and all of this stuff. So based on just this calculator I found online. So you said 144 kilometers. That is the longest stretch of
Yeah.
highway in the world.
Yeah, it's 142 or whatever. It doesn't matter really.
Okay. So that should equal 1.6 kilometers in curvature. So is that basically what it's saying, is that the drop over that 144 kilometers should be 1.6 kilometers in height?
Yep.
So that seems unbelievable.
Yeah, and yet the train operator there thinks he can go over a kilometer high hill with millions of pounds. Not sure how that works, but that train track, he'll know this, is measured level. Again, it's the longest, straightest railroad track. You can even look it up on Google. With no curve, zero curve. You guys are talking about curve. I've never seen it ever. You need to go measure it, document it.
Like I'm even just looking at this, like 144 kilometers in distance, and it's going to drop 1.6, which I get, like when you put it into those terms, it doesn't seem that much, but you would still think that based on just like driving around and stuff like that, it feels like it should be less than 1.6 kilometers over that distance.
Yeah, whether it could be even half, it could be 200 feet, but it's not there. It could be 50 feet, and I bet you it's not even there.
Yeah, like if this number came back to like even like 0.25 of a kilometer, I would actually believe that a lot more as far as like the curvature. Like to just see it, and again, I'm not judging this distance. It just seems in my mind that that is a lot of drop over that distance.
Yeah, but then again, it has to. Like, they're not my numbers, they're the globe numbers. That's 8 inches per mile squared. That's your numbers, not mine, because I don't know where the curve is. I've never seen it, never measured it. I don't drive over it. When you drive back and forth from Regina to Moose Jaw, you look left and right, you see flat.
Like I said, like where we are is pretty much the flattest part in the entire province, maybe even like all North America. Maybe there's some places like in Utah or something like that. But like when we're looking at that, I actually got to take that highway over the weekend, so I'll definitely kind of keep that in the back of my mind. But it's just like running that number, assuming that it's accurate, it seems like that is a fairly large drop even over that distance.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question that I had here, excuse me, is we're talking about what's beyond the wall. So the theory is that, and again, I'm kind of just, correct me if I'm wrong on this. So the flat Earth is that it's a plane surface. There's a firmament dome over top of it, and then around it is Antarctica, which would make up the ice wall. So what is behind the wall? What's on the other side of the land of always winter?
Yeah. So I can't remember the exact dates, but Emerald Richard Byrd, back in the 40s, and I think even the 30s, did some traveling to that area and reported back. And this is recorded on YouTube, the actual TV interview, that he reported that there was a continent larger than the United States of America there that has many resources. We are not allowed to go past the 60th parallel, I think it is. It's heavily monitored. There has been other people, I think, from Australia that have had boats and have tried to go, or even just, I don't even know if they were trying to go. They were just fishing or out in the ocean, and they were approached by a big boat and told them to leave. So again, what's on the other side, I don't know. But there has to be something containing the oceans. Again, it's Antarctic circle, not Antarctic continent. It's a circle, just like the crust of the pizza. Okay, so all the pepperonis on the pizza are the continents. The plastic support thing that so you don't crush the box, that's North Pole, center. And every direction from center going this way or this way is south. East and west has to be adjusted for every few miles.
Right. So because it's this again, this is just where I don't really trust the government and everything like that, because there's multiple treaties that have gone on with Antarctica. Like you said, you can't really just go there. I mean, not that you'd really want to, it's probably cold as fuck,
Mm-hmm.
but like that's where again I don't trust what's coming out of like the official narrative. So it just adds that little bit of seeds of doubt to where
Yeah.
there could be there could be aliens there could be tons of other stuff, assuming that it even was on a globe. Like they're hiding stuff there.
Oh, sure.
Begs the question, if the earth was flat, what are they hiding that's beyond? What don't they want us to be able to know
Yeah.
about? Like it's as soon as you start adding that relatively those seeds of doubt and the ability to have like what a plausible explanation for something, that's where it's like why wouldn't they be hiding something there?
Mm-hmm.
So that it's that the whole what's beyond the wall definitely has my interest peaked, and I'd like to realistically understand that probably more, because I think that is the thing that is holding the whole thing at bay.
Oh,
If
sure.
what was ever if and I've seen other maps where it's like, because you see like our earth, and then you see what's outside of it, and you see things such as like they've named the continents, and this is again like who the hell knows, but it's like you hear names like Asgard, and I think they have like that's where Atlantis actually is. So like lots of these like kind of fables have
Sure.
kind of existed in that space as well, as far as what people's I guess speculation would be on beyond it. I mean, there could be, like I said, aliens, there could be the Anunnaki, there could be tons
Mhm.
and tons of stuff, like anything that I don't know that, but it's just something that I've always kind of questioned.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. It's sky's the limit because none of us can even go there. I think I bumped into a video once of actually one of the military or the government that actually goes there and does all of those experiments. They're not actually even allowed to go explore themselves when they're there. They're only limited to a certain area. So,
Well,
like,
there's a massive treaty there
yeah,
as well,
yeah,
so even international bodies can't step on each other's toes.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. Um, so what is space? Space is just fake.
Well, space is a cartoon, that's for sure. I got it straight from your books. So anything that you go to, discover, science for the curious discover. So we can go to anything. This one doesn't. Why is this not showing this one? And again, it doesn't matter what science book you go to, it is all a cartoon. So we will start with this one. Oh, this guy's big, massive telescope took a picture of this garbage. So that is 100% a cartoon. That is not real. If these are little tiny stars, that is not a star, because I know personally that they do not look like that. The star, that, are you kidding me? Look at this. What is that? That's a white dot with 4 lines on it. That is not a star, okay? You can, I can sit here all night. Every book you look at is a piece of garbage. And here's what I'm talking about, the little fancy watercolors here. So that's just fancy watercolors, okay? That's not a photo. These are all, this is called Crab Nebula by Andre so-and-so. And they're all, see, look at this one. This one's horrible. Trying to get let me adjust my light here so you guys can see better. Yeah, so that's, I don't know what that is, but it's a cartoon, okay? You don't have to look at my books. You can go to anybody's books. I've got the Mr. Clown himself, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He likes blabbing away in here. And again, You guys can solve the problem yourself. Show me a real picture of Earth from space. I can sit here until 2030 and you will not show me a real picture of Earth from space.
So do you think that we have been to the moon?
No, the moon's not a rock. It's a light. The sun is not reflecting its own light off of the moon. Just give me 1 second here, because the sun and the moon. Where's my good picture here? I was going to print this one off because it's good. You can see the. Let's see if I can find it here quickly. Moon and the sun in the sky. Yeah, no, the moon is a light. It is very hard to figure out. I have recorded a lunar eclipse. Was it lunar? Yeah, lunar eclipse in 2017 with some kind of a weird waterfall effect coming like off the top of the moon. I've never caught that. I've recorded the moon hundreds of times and never seen it before. It looks like kind of a wave of energy on the moon, and then it trickles down the side. It is very amazing. You can check that out on the YouTube channel. And yeah, it's up. Oh, here, no, that's not it, is it?
So what happens during an eclipse under the flat Earth model? Because like assuming that the sun and the moon are just disks up there or whatever,
Yeah.
like because we can see this, it's scientifically proven that one goes in front of the other. Is that actually what's going on? What's happening with eclipses?
Well, the moon is not in the sky when those eclipses happen. So I'm not sure where you guys get it from. You're assuming it's the moon, but hours before the eclipse and hours after the eclipse, the moon's not in the sky. So I don't know what your eclipse is, and I don't know what mine is, but there could be another dark entity up there that we are not aware of. And it only comes once every so often. There is a book, I can't remember the name of the book, but there could be another so-called black planet up there, or a black sun. I don't know. These are all theories. This is a part where these are all just theories of mine, but because again, the globe's idea is that the sun and the moon are my head's the earth and the sun and the moon are on two separate sides, but the moon's not in the sky. And when you have a half moon, you guys think it's the earth blocking the sun, but the earth is round. So how is the half moon a straight line when the globe is round? So there's a lot of interesting things. But yeah, the moon and the sun, the moon is not in the sky when the eclipses happen. So that's kind of weird.
Okay. I talked to a guy named Dustin Nemos, and he was a big flat earther as well. He actually calls it the biblical Earth because it's everything that is described in the Bible as far as the description of what the I guess the relationship with the moon, the stars, sun, earth, all of that stuff is the biblical Earth, and I think that's the basis for his thoughts on it. So I got maybe and this might be a good question to kind of start wrapping it up but like with the way it's described in the Bible, we talked about Psalms 19, was it 19:1, and lots of the past knowledge and the spiritual element to all of this. What's kind of your take on the whole justification of why it would be flat from the biblical perspective, if you know anything about that?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't read the Bible, but from the whole creation part of it, you and I see with our own two eyes. He did create two lights, one to rule the day, one to rule the night. He created two lights, not a light and a rock. It's not stated in the Bible that he created a rock. Okay. again, people are misinterpreting what round means. Again, this is not round. Billiard balls are not round, they are spheres. And just because the billiard balls are spheres does not make the table a sphere. So when you look up into the night sky and you see the wandering stars, your so-called planets, which you've never been to, which are only lights, because I can verify that they're only lights. They're not actual physical masses of dense rock or gases. So I kind of got off track there. Yeah, and you see that with your own two eyes, like, and then all you have to do is, I'm kind of going, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but yeah, no, again, I don't know much about the Bible, but I can see and sense what the creation part of it is, within the 6 days that he did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's I was just going to go back to the simulation theory because that's where my head goes. It's like if you were into a simulated reality within like a set, like a set environment, like you would have some type of like when you play video games, once you kind of go to the border, you can only run into that wall. You can't exceed that, right? You start swimming out into the ocean, it caps you, like you're in a finite environment. And I think that is if you're believing in simulation theory, I don't think that necessarily disproves God. I think that it's a way that you could use to justify it, but you would also be able to justify something like flat Earth. Is there other cultures or religions that also believe in flat Earth? I guess maybe even just from a historical perspective as well.
I think there are other religions, but I don't really communicate with them. But I realized from being out in public that Caucasians or white people are the less to look into it or agree with me. The other religions or nations like East Indians, Hindus, African Americans are all interested in it, at least a good percentage of them. We are trying to communicate with somebody from India because on your ball, the sun rises and sets. We see the sun set and they see the sun rise, but they are on the other side of your globe. You guys can explain that to me. And we see this with our own two eyes. It's quite amazing. And there are, like I said, there are people in Regina. I'm not the only one. There's hundreds of people. I have lots of friends there who know the earth is flat. We know it is. I don't believe in things. Believing in stuff like Santa Claus and Easter Bunny, I was done with that years ago. I like to know where I live. So that's why I'm doing the research, and I go from there. And if you have a minute or two, if you see me in the city, come up and talk. Show me your proof, and I'm saying your proof of a globe, not NASA's, not the military or the government. I want your proof that you've measured the curve, or you've taken a picture of Earth from space, or you're walking upside down in Australia or Chile, or anything of the above. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I want to jump back to the Indian comment just for a second. What were you meaning? Like we see the sun set and they see the sunrise. Like what's the correlation or the point that you're trying to make there?
Yeah, we see it at the same time.
We see it at the same time?
Yeah, it's setting here and rising there, and we can verify that. And we're going to try to verify that live on YouTube, at least me and a buddy.
Oh, like that's what you're working toward. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like again, like I'm kind of I'm not doing this type of research or looking into things like that for art. So like is the overlap actually there?
It's huge. It's like I think possibly 6 or 7 hours like now, but then it's getting shorter and shorter as the days go because as the sun moves further south.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I got a question for you guys. So The moon moves from time to time from the northern, from 60-degree angle all the way to the 30-degree angle. And according to the globe, that's the reason why seasons happen for the sun. So I'm using the moon as an example. So if the sun, if the earth tilts like we are told, this is how we get our seasons, okay? So it tilts every 6 months or whenever it wants to tilt for the different changes of seasons. This is why the sun is in the 30-degree angle and then 60-degree angle. But again, the moon moves from here to here almost weekly, not every 6 months, weekly. Sometimes 3 or 4 days, it's at the 60-degree angle and then 30-degree angle. What's moving, the earth or the moon? Somebody needs to explain that to me, And then again, here you see the light from my bulb, from my lamp. We're here. Australia is here. How are we both looking at the sun up there above our heads, remember? But they're pointing this way. Their heads are that way. Like, it doesn't work. It works on this. If we got two people standing here and here looking that way, yeah, of course it works. Because the sun is above our heads.
Wouldn't it be because the sun is far, far away? Like that would be the answer for why both people can see it.
Prove it.
Like I'm like that's what I would expect,
Yeah.
is because the sun is so far away.
How
That
far is it?
just the angle. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't get into specifics though.
93 million miles away. That's what we're told.
Well, but so then that, like, again, as long as you're within the 180 degrees point of view of it, you'd be able to see it at the same time. Right?
I don't know how that would work.
Well, because if you take your ball out, right?
Yeah.
And you shine a light, 50% of that ball should be able to be viewed on it.
Yeah, but we've got,
right?
Okay, let's go to Chile. So this person is looking down, okay? The sun's above their head, right? And then we go to Canada, and that I'm looking this way to see the sun.
Oh, so you're saying the sun is overhead at the same time, like simultaneously?
Yeah, noon, whether give or take an hour or two, depending on the time zone. These people in Chile are looking this way to see the sun. But your sun is over here, like on your model, and so are all the other planets. They're all in a disk form.
But it's noon. It's not straight overhead. It's in the middle of the sky.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah, it's like 60 or 60 degrees.
But yeah, but so it's not overhead. So you're not looking at it like straight.
Yeah, exactly. But still, it doesn't matter at this point.
But the guy in Chile would be looking north, and the guy in Canada would be looking south.
But north is this way.
Right.
But his head is pointed this way. I have see this guy here in Canada. I'll put this guy down here. See how that works? Well, it doesn't work, but I'm trying to show it on your model. So,
but what I'm saying is like you would have half of that, like 50% of that globe would be able to view the sun at the same time, right? Like everybody that the light shines on that globe would be able to see the sun, right?
Yeah, but
the other side would be night, essentially black, right?
Yeah.
So they're basically, it's not directly overhead both at the same time. They're viewing it from different angles.
Yeah, but this guy's angle here in Chile should be way different.
Well, it is, because they're looking north, and then the guy in Canada would be looking south, right?
Yeah, but the sun,
they're both illuminated by the sun at the same time.
But they're not looking this way. Remember, their head is pointed this way, like away from the ball, It's very confusing. Like, it doesn't work, It's I don't even know what this, again, I don't know. Yeah. we can argue to the cows come home, but it's just doesn't work.
Right. Well, I think I'm just gonna double check my notes here, make sure I didn't miss anything
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I wanted to talk about. I think that actually covered all of the kind of the questions and the things that I wanted to talk about
And there's a
there.
link. There's a link to my YouTube channel in there somewhere, right?
Yes, I have it linked in the
Yeah.
description box. So if you
Okay.
want to find more information about this, or even maybe try to debunk some of the stuff that Mikey's been talking about,
Yeah.
check out his YouTube channel on there. But apart from that, do you have any last messages to the listeners?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna be in town on trying to get there on most of the Rider football games. I will be there on Saturday, at the fair on Saturday, and try to stay there as long as I can. I'll be parked on Elphinstone Street probably, and yeah, and be there for the football games. And if you see me, ask me some questions, but I need some proof of a globe too. So yeah.
Perfect. I got two Rumble rants I'm going to read quick here from Uncle
Yep.
Ken. One from Uncle Kenny, shirt please, and then another one from Tenacious V. Cheers, brother. Keep up the great work. Most just want your shirt. LOL. All right. Well, I got a couple entries into in the T-shirt of the month for this month. So thank you all for sending some cash that way. It definitely does go a long way. But that's it for this one. Mikey, thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation. I'm not sure if some people were twisted and twist their arm enough to be able to switch them over to your perspective, but I'm really
Yeah.
glad that we're able to have a conversation, because I think that that's where lots of stuff needs to start, not just about this, but about so many other topics and
Well, for
issues and
sure.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Do you want me to stick around after you log off?
Yeah, we can chat for a little bit after.
Okay.
I'll just do my outro, and then I'll see you in a second here.
Yeah.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, that was, if nothing else, it was for sure interesting, especially to be able to hear some different perspectives on something that we've been told is a certain way our entire life, and not never to question the narrative, which is usually the way that these things go. But starting in August, I will be moving the streams from 8:15 back 15 minutes to 8 p.m. So just be aware of that change. So next week I will be starting at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. I will obviously make the adjustments for all of my marketing and stuff like that. Make sure that everybody knows the proper times for that. And next week I'm going to be talking with Fortisax about the current state of Canada and nationalism. Been noticing lots of the stuff he's been talking about on Twitter, and I've been saying, I think, lots of good things. It'll be a good conversation next week. I will release the full schedule in a couple of days for the month of August. It is going to be a bit of a lighter month. September and October, I think, will be a little bit busier, but I got big plans especially for October, because that's 3 years. Actually, on August 1st is officially 1 year of doing live streams. And then, October is 3 years of doing my podcast entirely. So a couple of things coming up here. Gonna have a couple big months, and I'm super excited for that. The Road Rage Terror Tour is on the final leg of the tour right now. And the biggest show coming up tomorrow night is in Hamilton. I think they cut tickets actually. I think they sold out Hamilton, which is huge. Which it was our biggest show, and have, I think, the most dags in that area. So that'll be lots of fun. There is tickets still available for the Nova Scotia event, which is on Sunday. Visit thegrift.shop for that. The tour has been a great success so far. I saw a couple of people in the chat, a couple of people in the chat over the last couple of weeks traveling and checking out the shows. If you want to support my podcast, you can do so via e-transfer. I have other ways listed in the description box as well. Social media links and the link to my Substack are also in the description box, and tons of other good stuff to check out there as well. You can also check out Mikey's YouTube channel. I have it linked there as well. But that's it for this one. Have a good rest of the week. I will see you next Tuesday, and stay free.